everybody, glad to have you here. Today I am talking about several new palettes from e.l.f. They are called the Perfect Face Palettes, and it's actually a combination of eye, lip, and cheek products all in one. And it is that time of year where we're seeing tons of different palettes from both high-end and drugstore brands. So I really wanted to get a review out on these so you would know sort of how they stack up. So you got three options. One is the Smoky Matte palette. The other one is the Rose palette, and then you also have a Nude palette. But as far as how these did for me quality-wise, I feel I have a clear favorite, one that I really like, not just a matter of, oh, it's the best out of the three, but one that I could see myself continuing to use and recommend to people. And then there's two that just kind of missed the mark for me, both for different reasons. So I'm gonna jump in and talk first about the one that I enjoyed the most, which was the Smoky Matte. I just really think there's a lot going for this palette. Number one, it's great quality. And number two, I think it was just smartly put together. When I look at the mix of shades, when I see it all together on my face, I think, yeah, that makes sense. These colors work together. So what you're getting are three eyeshadows. You've got this light shade that's very cool, just like a hint of rose in that color. And then this pretty sort of mix of dusty rose and lilac, which makes a great crease shade. And then your darkest shade, which is a near black. And I think it's very easy to use because it is not a full-on black. And none of these shades feel super dry. It's actually a really nice quality matte texture. And then as far as the blushes go in here, it's actually, these seem identical to the matte blush duo in Fiji, if anybody's got that. I really enjoyed that product. I thought it was nice quality, really smooth matte products, and it seems exactly the same to what's in here. So you got a bronzer type product, works fine as a contour. I use that as a contour today. And then the blush is just a nice natural peachy blush. Now, regardless of, you know, this palette being called matte or whatever the other ones are, they all seem to have the same kind of formula in the lip products, which seem to be a creamy lipstick, just kind of smushed into a pan, you know what I mean? They're not sheer like lip glosses, but they're not like matte lip colors either. So I was kind of surprised that they didn't stick some sort of matte formula in here, although maybe there was concern that a matte formula in a palette that's going to just be wide open a lot of the time might dry out even quicker than it should. Anyway, you're getting a deep kind of cranberry red and then a really dark wine color as well. So I love the Smoky Matte palette. I was actually just asked the other day on Twitter, somebody needing recommendations for matte blushes and matte eyeshadows at a drugstore price, and I feel like this palette totally does it. It's a great color scheme for fall and winter, and the quality of the matte shadows and stuff in there is just really good. Now, moving on to the one that I would say is in the middle for me, but really these next two, I just wouldn't really see myself recommending them or using them a whole lot whatsoever. But you've got this palette called Rose, and I feel like I glance at this color scheme and it's all over the place for me. You got this bright pinky blush here, there's a really red lip color, and then your neutral shadows over here where they incorporate a rose gold, and I kind of, that's mentally what I thought going into this it was going to be more like a rose gold soft palette color scheme like that. And really the rose gold nature of that eyeshadow, I thought that was kind of weak anyway. It doesn't really stand out or build up that well on the eyes. The two mattes that you're getting in here, a matte cream and a matte brown, I thought performed pretty well. But I was wanting a little more pop out of that center shade. And then as far as your blush bronzer, your bronzer has kind of a satiny finish, and the blush has a little bit of shimmer to it as well. It doesn't show up super pronounced on the cheeks shimmer wise, but it's very colorful. It's like a bright kind of corally pink. And then you get both a nude and a warm red lip color. And again, I look at the whole color palette, and where the Smoky Matte totally made sense to me 100% across the board, this one I look at and it's just kind of like, would I really see myself pulling for that warm red along with this color scheme? Like, I'm not sure. And that's a blush that's really going to show on you too. You know, it's going to be fairly bright. So with the exception of that one eyeshadow, I don't really have a lot of gripes about this palette pigmentation wise, but it's more of, you know, would I realistically wear all these products and these tones together? Probably not. And again, I just kind of wonder what part of this was meant to be rose. Was it playing off of the rose gold shadow? Was it supposed to be like a rosy blush, or are they calling like the lip color over here to be rose and everything's supposed to complement that? I just don't see these different shades really complementing one another that much. And then my kind of third place palette is a third place palette mainly due to quality reasons, and it's the one labeled Nude. And you've got a couple of decent eyeshadows in here with this light pearly shade. Your second shadow is a really perfect like matte crease color. Then you've got a deeper shade that doesn't offer a whole lot. Like when that's sheared out on the eyes, that bronzy brown, it does not do much for me. And then I was really kind of disappointed in the quality of both the highlight and the blush. This highlight is very chalky. It almost strikes me more like a white eyeshadow with a little bit of sheen than an actual highlight. When you put your brush in, it's just, you know, there's a lot of product going on there and not in the best texture possible. And then the blush I can hardly make show up at all. So that's a soft peach, and I know the palette's labeled Nude, but you know, I'd at least like to see the blush. And then your lip colors, no real problems here. One's a nude, one's a pretty rose color, both very wearable. When I glance at the color scheme, I think, yeah, that should all work, but if it's not all like really working quality-wise across the board, there's just so much palette competition out there these days. I can't see myself saying, yeah, go ahead and pick that one up. But back to the Smoky Matte being my favorite, I mean, I just think everything in here is really good. Another thing I didn't mention is that this can make a nice eyeshadow as well, like a perfect kind of brownish crease color if you didn't want to take it so much in this rosy mauve scheme. But I will show you how I put my look together today with this palette. So after getting, you know, foundation, concealer, and powder on, I used the bronzer shade. This is going to be a subtle bronzer. You know, I used it around my hairline a little bit, gave myself a little contour in the cheekbones. The blush, though, I love how it's a pretty peach, but it's not really shouting from the rooftops, hey, I'm wearing a peach blush. You know, it's one of those shades that seems like it might naturally occur from the skin. And again, both of those shades are matte. And then on the eyes, I primed my lids and I used that center sort of dusty rose color in my crease, and I love it. I love that type of shade in the crease. And then I used the lightest shade up under my brow, and I also patted some of that shade on top of my lid. Then I took the darkest shade, again with a flat brush, and I just dabbed that on my outer corner up into the crease a little bit. You guys could have probably glanced at these three shades and predicted how I was going to use them, but you know, that's the way I think they look best. Then I took some liner across my upper lash line, and I came back in with the black just to sort of link in with my wing a bit and get some liner going on the lower lash line. Finished the look with some mascara, some false lashes. The end result, I think, is very wearable. I think you can totally customize the amount of the deepest color that you throw in and take it into more of a nighttime smoky look, or eliminate that shade altogether and just use these two as a duo, and you would be fine for a natural daytime look. But I was wearing these colors in a recent video, and a lot of you asked, what's on your eyes? What are you doing there? And so it was this palette. Then the lip color, like I said, these are not matte. Even in the matte palette, you're getting a cream, like standard kind of creamy lipstick. And so I used mostly the wine color all over my lips with my own lip brush. And I put a little bit of the red just in the center of the lower lip just to switch things up a bit. Before going out, I would probably give this a nice blot so I wouldn't be worried about the darkness of this color sort of drifting somewhere it wasn't supposed to be. Not saying it's a bad formula, but it's probably not going to be as long wearing as, say, one of those e.l.f. matte lip colors would be. But still, I thoroughly enjoy the shades that they put in here. Like I said, very fall winter appropriate, and I think it plays so nicely with that eye as well. So guys, that's my take on these perfect face palettes. Like I said, there's just tons of palette competition out there these days, so I'm looking very critically at these, but I was pleased to see that there is one that I really, really liked. I think I'll definitely latch on to this. I would definitely recommend this to my matte shadow and blush lovers. But the other two, you know, they've got bits and pieces of them that are positive points, but for the most part, it's not a palette I would look at and recommend or get a lot of use out of. Just my take, my personal opinions, but thank you guys for requesting this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.